Sometimes the kindest journeys don't begin in the skies, but in an airport delay. She never expected a flight delay to change her life, until a single dad's kindness made her daughter smile, and her guarded heart finally exhaled. Because sometimes a simple act of kindness can land where love has been waiting all along. Under the pale glow of the terminal lights, Evelyn Marlowe sat in the quiet corner of Gate 32, her posture perfect, her eyes distant. The CEO of Westline Air was used to movement, fast, precise, controlled. But this morning, her world had slowed to a crawl. The fog outside had grounded every flight, and the digital board blinked a dull red beside the word she hated most, delayed. Her assistant had gone to make calls, leaving her alone with the faint hum of announcements and the rhythmic tapping of her daughter's hands against her thighs. Clara sat cross-legged on the airport bench, her hair falling into her face as she focused on the small puzzle cube turning slowly in her fingers. Every few seconds she paused, her lips moving silently, as if reciting an invisible pattern. Evelyn watched her, every twitch, every sound, and fought the rising ache behind her ribs. To others, Clara seemed lost in her own world, but Evelyn knew better. Her daughter's world was made of logic and rhythm, fragile as glass, and any sudden noise could shatter it. Across the terminal, laughter broke out. Two teenage boys scrolling through videos on a phone. Clara flinched. Evelyn tensed, the old instinct to protect tightening her shoulders. She adjusted her scarf, looked away, and reminded herself to breathe. Just a few more hours, she murmured. Then home. But fate, as always, had other plans. A soft clang echoed near the vending machines. A man crouched there, gathering spilled coins with the awkwardness of someone too used to doing everything alone. He wore a flannel shirt beneath a worn jacket, jeans speckled with dust, and boots that had clearly seen better days. Beside him stood a boy small, about 8, holding a paper airplane with a strip of blue tape across its wing. The boy's laughter carried, bright but soft, a sound that didn't jar the air. It eased it. Evelyn tried not to look, but Clara had already noticed. The little girl's eyes lifted from her cube, curious, focused on the sound. It wasn't the laughter itself. It was the rhythm of it, the rise and fall like music. Evelyn turned, ready to redirect her daughter, but Clara whispered something that stopped her cold. "Mom, he sounds like the birds at the lake." The boy, oblivious to their attention, crouched beside his father and launched the paper plane again. It spiraled, dipped, then glided straight toward Clara's bench before landing by her boots. She froze, eyes wide. Evelyn started to rise, but the man was already walking over, offering an apologetic half-smile. "Sorry about that. Guess my co-pilot's still in training," he said. His voice was warm, low and unhurried, like sunlight through fog. Evelyn managed a polite nod. "It's fine." But Clara surprised them both. She picked up the paper plane and held it out carefully. "It flew better than mine," she said quietly. Evelyn's breath caught. Clara didn't speak to strangers. The man crouched slightly, keeping his distance, his smile gentle. "Then maybe you can teach us how to make it fly even better." And for the first time that morning, Evelyn saw her daughter smile. Hours passed in a rhythm she hadn't expected. The fog held its ground outside, and the terminal became a kind of limbo where time softened. The man's name was Jack Halstead, a mechanic from Ohio heading home after visiting his brother. His son, Liam, was all restless curiosity and kindness wrapped in small shoulders. Evelyn found herself talking more than she meant to, drawn in by the unpolished ease of Jack's manner. He asked questions that weren't rehearsed and listened like it mattered. Clara, for her part, had drifted closer to Liam. They sat cross-legged on the floor, drawing planes on napkins and testing fold patterns. Liam didn't flinch when Clara repeated herself or needed silence between words. He simply waited, nodding like it was normal. Evelyn watched, her chest tightening with something she couldn't name. Jack caught her watching once and offered a small, understanding smile. "He's got way with kids," he said. "Never met one he couldn't make laugh, even when he scared himself." "You?" she asked softly. He shrugged. "After his mom passed, it's been just us." Scared's kind of part of the job description. Evelyn looked away, her throat tightening. She wanted to say she understood, but she didn't. Not really. Her life was noise and control, schedules and signatures. Fear wasn't something she allowed herself to feel. But as she glanced at Clara, her small body shaking with giggles at something Liam had drawn, she realized how long it had been since she'd heard that sound. When the intercom crackled to life, announcing further delays, Evelyn expected irritation. Instead, she felt relief. More time. More of this. Jack returned with 3 cups of cocoa, one of them topped with a mound of marshmallows so uneven it looked accidental. He set it in front of Clara. "The one with the mountain of sugars for the engineer," he said. Clara blinked, then smiled. "Thank you." Her fingers brushed the warm paper cup, and Evelyn saw something shift in her daughter's posture. Ease, comfort, trust. It was fragile, yes, but real. Evelyn hadn't seen it since Clara's diagnosis, since the endless appointments and polite pity. And here, in an airport of strangers, a single dad and his son had done what years of therapy couldn't, made her daughter feel seen. As the hours stretched, the 4 of them began to move like a small, makeshift family. When the power flickered, Jack pulled a flashlight from his bag, setting up an impromptu camp under the window where the kids pretended to be pilots stranded on Mars. Evelyn, half amused, half amazed, found herself sitting cross-legged beside Jack on the floor, laughing when the kids handed them oxygen masks made of napkins. "You're good at this," she said quietly. He raised a brow. "At what chaos?" "At making it feel safe," she replied. "You make silence less heavy." Jack looked at her for a long moment before saying, "Maybe you just needed a break from the noise." For the first time in a long while, Evelyn didn't have a rebuttal. They shared stories then, about the things they never told anyone. Jack spoke of losing his wife, of nights when Liam couldn't sleep, and they'd count stars until dawn. Evelyn confessed that sometimes she felt like she was failing Clara, not because she didn't love her, but because she couldn't always reach her. "Maybe you don't need to," Jack said softly. "Maybe you just stand beside her until she reaches you." Evelyn turned to him, her throat tight. "You make it sound simple." "Sometimes it is," he said. "Sometimes the hardest thing is letting simple be enough." Outside, the fog began to thin. Through the glass, sunlight spread in streaks across the tarmac. Clara and Liam pressed their faces to the window, watching the first plane lift through the golden haze. Evelyn and Jack stood behind them, close enough that their shoulders brushed. Neither moved away. When the loudspeaker finally announced boarding, something unspoken hung between them. The spell of the delay was breaking. Evelyn's flight was ready. Jack's connection was an hour behind. Clara clutched her paper plane, unwilling to let go. Liam said, "We can sit near the window again someday. Maybe even fly the real thing." Evelyn knelt beside Clara. "Say thank you, sweetheart." But Clara surprised her once again. "Can we see them again, Mom?" she asked. "Please." Jack's eyes met Evelyn's, hopeful and certain. Evelyn hesitated only a second before saying, "I think we'd like that." Weeks passed. Messages turned into calls, calls into visits. Jack and Liam came to the city once, and Clara met them at the aquarium, her laughter echoing through glass tunnels filled with shimmering light. Evelyn stood back, watching her daughter point out jellyfish to Liam, her voice bright and sure. Jack moved beside her, smiling that quiet, grounding smile she'd come to crave. "She's different," he said softly. "She's happier," Evelyn whispered. "So am I." By the time winter rolled in, they were no longer 2 families crossing paths. They were one. Clara and Liam built snow forts in Evelyn's garden. Jack fixed the kitchen drawer that had jammed for months. Dinners turned into late-night talks, shared stories, slow laughter. One evening, as snow fell softly outside, Jack placed his mug down and looked across the table. "You ever think maybe the fog wasn't just bad luck that day?" Evelyn smiled. Maybe it was the first thing to finally go right. He reached for her hand, his touch gentle, certain. Clara and Liam sat nearby, designing paper planes, arguing over whose would fly farther. Outside, the lights of the city blinked like a runway, guiding, steady, full of promise. And when Evelyn leaned her head on Jack's shoulder, listening to the children's laughter fill the room, she knew something with perfect clarity. Some flights don't take off from airports. Some take off from the quiet places where hearts finally learn how to land. If this story touched your heart, remember, kindness is the quiet flight that always finds its way home. Subscribe, share, and keep spreading light where it's needed.